It doesn't matter. Welcome back to Awaken Your Essence channel. It's me, Mystical Carter, and I'm here with the fabulous Nabi High Priestess. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing okay.
Welcome back. We're gonna do a little part two for y'all. Um, Another thing I want to get out there, Nabi, was do you think people change the image? Oh, do you think it's common for people to change the image of the deity that they're studying, whether it's from their um, ancestors, pantheon, or something new? Like it doesn't matter. You can answer it either way, however you want.
Um, well, yeah, I think they do change it. Um, for instance, let's say your heritage is Polish, and for some reason you don't really vibe with the ancient Polish deities, but you can vibe with Isis. Vibe with Isis, and you might have a hard time dealing with the idea that this deity that you really like um,
Does it belong to your ancestors?
physically does not resemble you. And so your idea of this deity changes. Would change skin color, the eye color, um, the mouth of the deity to reflect your people. Um, I'm not sure if I think when people do that, they do that because they're not. How can I put it? They're not ready to face the reality of their own heritage. They have a lot of growing to do. They have a lot about themselves they have to learn. Um, eventually, as they, for instance, begin understanding that if you look at your own family, the faces in your family, you're looking at the faces of the deity of your people. And as you come to accept this and to see this as common and everyday, and also as seeing yourself as being a living, breathing, walking, talking god or goddess, your image will change and you will change. You will start working on yourself, working on aspects of yourself to make yourself better. But yes, people do that.
Um, I agree. I think it's more common than what people admit to. You know, I know that like we use ISIS a lot because there's a lot of portrayal of ISIS, just like there's a lot of portrayal of Cleopatra,
Right.
coming from our ancestors anyway.
Mhm.
Um, and the most famous one, obviously, is Elizabeth Taylor. Um, and there's plenty of black women that they could use, and a lot of people would like to see in that role. Um, as far as Hollywood's concerned, or just a portrait of them, but that's another story.
Mhm.
Um, I think yes, I think it's more common, and also, do you think when people change pantheon, do you think people change pantheons to find different parts of their personality?
Yes. I think they do. I think that they might get a book on gods or goddesses
Right.
and look up the attributes and say, "Oh yeah, I vibe to that. I think I want to start worshiping this god or goddess."
Right.
Um, Usually, what they'll do is they won't look up the information about that god or goddess. They won't look up the information about the people they come from, the area they come from, the land that they come from, the customs there, the language, or anything else.
Right.
They'll just take a generic god or goddess worship format and use it. Now, that's fine in the beginning because they're really afraid to get into who they are, get deep into they are. They're touching on this lightly. But eventually they will start looking into themselves, into their heart, into their feelings, into their minds and their thoughts, and their actions, past and present, and they'll start exploring more. Now, there are some who use a certain image of a god or goddess to purposely keep from exploring, to purposely freeze themselves, if you will, in one mode of being. And when people do that, they do that as a form of protection. It's to protect themselves from being hurt, from whatever they perceive to be a danger to themselves. So someone might take an image of a warrior, goddess, or god, and stick with that, but they won't work on their own fears and such. And they'll actually use it as an excuse to look down on others. You know, many people have the idea that a warrior deity is a conqueror, and a conquered people are looked down upon. They don't understand the deeper, more spiritual aspects of a warrior deity. These people are afraid. They've been hurt, like I said, and they're afraid. They're hiding. They're trying to put up a shield.
Okay. There's no need to say nothing else. Like I was totally in student mode, like just soaking all of that in. Like wow. Uh, um. We probably could leave this one there, man, and wait to get some feedback before we load that open any further. And I don't know. I don't know if I would do this in this video or another one. Remember we was getting into the black consciousness and them having battles over history and whose pantheon is the oldest and who borrowed what from what custom. Um, have you seen more or less of that as Wicca has grown since you have been a part of the movement?
I have seen, well, from the beginning, let me tell you what I have noticed in white Wicca.
Oh.
Even though they will talk about the Celtic pantheons and their Celtic heritage,
Right.
they actually believe that the African and the African diasporic pantheons are stronger. And they feel that that's the case because 9 times out of 10, they haven't been changed.
Right.
They feel that the Celtic pantheons and even the Norse pantheons and Scandinavian pantheons have been changed over the centuries. They've been blended with so many different Catholic saints and such. They actually feel that they get a vibe from them of Christianity. And they don't really get them from the African ones. Even the voodoo ones who have been mixed with the saints, because the attributes of the saints with the voodoo people are not the same as the attributes of the saints of the Catholic Church. The vibes are different. The Catholic Church okays the European saints and their association with the European, Celtic, Germanic, old gods, because they built that upon them. But in the African tradition, the church frowned upon it and would not use those images of the saints, the energies, the images of the saints, the same way that they would with the Europeans. So the African ones had a whole different vibe, and that vibe is really strong. And the European Wiccans who grew up Catholic and etc., they feel the difference with the African gods and goddesses, and even the images of the saints associated with them. They feel the difference. But they carry over their Christian ideas when they're dealing with the European saint images. And they don't like that. They're trying to get away from that. So they need something that feels more primitive, if you will, to them. So I find they use the African gods and goddesses more. You will find in Wicca more white Wiccans dealing with the African gods and goddesses than you will in black Wicca. And the white Wiccans are quite devoted to them.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they may not be part of a voodoo house or anything like that,
Right.
they just do it on their own.
How about today? That could be a whole other discussion in itself too. Is the the rise of white witches and hoodoo and voodoo practices. Maybe um it's because now I've been in more different parts of the United States and I've run across more
Mhm.
out here than what I did on the East Coast. Like when I've times when I've traveled up north, you see more of you don't see a lot of witches out in the open up north like that.
Mhm.
Not on the East Coast anyway.
Mhm.
Um, you have to kind of hunt them down or catch them at one of the aquarium bookshops or one of the goddess shops to really
Mhm.
to get a feel for what they're into.
Mhm.
Um, and as far as as far as the black spiritualists up there, I'm starting to see a rise in black consciousness, and we can do a little short video on that next if you want to. But this is reaching 15 minutes,
Mhm.
and I don't know when it'll cut it off. Um, but yeah, man, thank y'all for coming back and checking out part two. I'm gonna get Miss Nabi to stick around as we keep exploring these topics. Um, it's always a pleasure to have her around. I've shot out some solo videos, and I want to get her in on some of this stuff. Because it's always good to pay tribute and respect to your elders. Um, your elders in the craft, especially the cool ones. Now the ones that act like they ain't got time for nobody, then you just give them a smile, a nod, and push them out the way. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'll catch y'all in my next video. Thank you for watching and subscribing, and finally starting to give me some feedback. Y'all keep it coming. And I'll see you in the next. Peace.